I'm just that I pressed the recording button properly this time.
Okay, good.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Okay. So did my prompt work? Did the uh the agreement I sent you, was it any good?
Oh, I didn't see it to tell you the truth.
Oh,
I
okay.
missed it. I missed it. I'll check it out. Thank you so much.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
Okay. I have to close my door. My husband hates hearing me talk on the phone.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll check it out after our
No
meeting.
problem. No problem. Take your time. No,
And,
no hurry. No hurry. Yeah.
thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I paid $2,700 to an attorney, and the first client I sent it to didn't like it.
Oh my
And
God. Okay.
so, yeah, she did that and a subcontractor agreement, and they're just too detailed and anal, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
Anyhow, okay, well,
Yeah, I
let's
mean
start.
that's what I wrote my book for. They hate when you try to practice your constitutional right for representing yourself, and
Yeah,
yeah, and it's we are in a perfect world scenario because I used to always think I did a course about AI and law, and at that time I thought that whether AI should be regulated, but now I think the law should be regulated because it was based on the Italian as well as British law, which is very monarchy friendly, and so is the American law is derived from that. So when you take control in your hand and when they deploy the technology with all the case precedents, and you are then able to angle your case more accurately, because just like doctors, they are afraid to jump into any malpractice or losing their bar licenses or certifications or registrations. So it's best to take matters in your own hand because you understand your scenario better and nobody else. So yeah, so my book is for that exact
excellent.
purpose. Yeah.
I have a brain problem. I can't read books anymore.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, but you can
It,
hear
it
it as well, I think. Yeah.
It just doesn't work. I have bipolar and I've had to take so much medication for it
Okay.
that I can't concentrate for more than a page or two at a
Okay.
time, and so I don't read books anymore.
Ah,
Um,
okay. Okay. Yeah, me too.
I can read websites and
Okay.
white papers and things like that, but
Mhm.
that's about it.
Even for website and white papers, or even chat gpt or other I just press the the speaking button, the speaker button,
Yes,
and just listen to whatever male or female voice anyway. So although we had discussed but before, but we ran into some technical problems, so I'm bothering you once again. But your story was the most fascinating story I ever heard. I used to think that Forever Young of Mel Gibson was probably the best story, the love story, but yours is like next level. And and especially in context of saving the humanity and having a blessed heart, and just being very selfless. So tell me, give me a little background about yourself, and then unleash yours. This floor is yours.
sure. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and went to Colorado when I was 12 to go skiing with my mother and my brother. Fell in love with it and knew I wanted to move there when I went to college, and I did. I graduated with a degree in accounting, worked in auditing for a year, and knew that I wanted to be a consultant. And so I stayed there for a year and got experience in emerging enterprises. And then I went to law school because my father offered to pay for it, even though I didn't want to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a better consultant, and I was in law school, and I took the make love, not law review approach. I did not jump in and compete very heavily. I just did the best that I could do and didn't worry about it. And I ended up doing quite well, actually, but without getting crazy about it. And so I was taking a break before I studied for my first semester law exams and had a party. And I got a phone call while I was at the party, and a woman said, "Fine, have a party and don't invite me." And I said, "And who is this?" And she said, "Stephanie." And I said, "Oh." And I said, "Well, come." And she said, "Well, I have my husband and his brother." And I said, "Bring them too." So they showed up, and I was standing looking at my CD collection on a shelf, uh, trying to pick out a CD to play. And this guy was standing next to me, and he said, "So you like the blues?" And I said, "Yeah." And I turned and looked at him, and I said, "You are so fucking cute," and turned and walked into the kitchen. And we ended up dancing later on that night, and Stephanie couldn't believe how deeply we connected that first time we met. And we talked the next day, and he invited me to come over where he was house sitting at her as his brother's parent in-laws. um and I went over there, and he wasn't there, or he didn't answer the door, so I turned around and drove away. And he said he saw me driving away, and he just saw my face and just said he just knew, um, that I was the one for him for that at that point in time, at least. And we ended up that night, he invited me to come to Denver. I lived in Boulder, which was 30 miles from Denver. He invited me to come to Denver, where he was staying at his brother and sister-in-law's house. He was visiting from Australia. He's Australian and British. And so I said, "Well, I'm in my pajamas already." And he said, "Well, come as you are." And I said, "Okay." So I came, and I brought my dog and a teddy bear, and showed up in my bathrobe and slippers. And Stephanie got a huge kick out of that, and she liked me and thought it was great, and I showed a lot of spunk and everything. And then I went home, and
Lisa, just a moment. Just a minute.
sure.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry,
It's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyhow, he and I got together. I don't remember what we did, but we spent time together. And I think it was about 3 days later, we were about to make love, and he felt like he had to stop before we did and tell me that he was defective, that he had this kidney disease. And the words immediately just tumbled out of my mouth without any forethought whatsoever. I have no idea where they came from. I just said, "Don't worry, I'll give you one of mine." And in that moment, I knew we would be compatible, even though I didn't know anything about organ donation. I just knew it was going to happen. And I didn't even know if human organ donations were happening at that point. I knew about pigs had been used,
Mhm.
but I just knew. I don't know why. I just knew that we would be able to do that, and that we would be compatible, and that it would work fine. And flash forward, I graduated from. We got married a year later on a fiance visa.
Mhm.
We went over to Australia because he had to go to Australia and come back into the United States on the fiance visa, and we got married in the living room of our friend's house, and went out afterwards with some neighborhood friends, and got married. And then we planned a wedding the next year in May. That was in September. In May, we had a wedding, and had about 100 people. And They came from all over the world to this wedding, including some
Mhm.
from England who just flew in for the weekend. And it was a 3-day event, rehearsal, barbecue with the band, and the wedding, and then a reception at the Colorado History Museum. That was a mountain masquerade, and everybody wore masks and for the cocktail hour
Mhm.
before the meal. And then friends of Nick's got up and gave a speech and told the story about the Princess of Boulder and the King Troll, and they put a gold colander with little jewels on it on his head so that he was the king, and gave me a ribbon to wear across my chest that said princess.
Mhm.
And at
Lisa,
any rate,
can
it
you
was a very
tilt the
funny story.
camera a little bit down?
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yeah,
Okay, I'm
yeah,
really bad about that.
no problem.
At any rate, so it was a 3-day international event. It was really really fun. Everybody had a great time, and there even came a wedding out of it, a marriage. This woman from our coffee group that we went to every morning met a friend of Nick's there, and they connected, and they ended up getting married.
Oh,
And we went on a group honeymoon
okay.
uh, because all these people had traveled from overseas, and we figured they wanted to stay in the United States longer.
Uh-huh.
So we went on a group honeymoon and went up to the mountains,
Mhm.
and um, uh, then this one other couple who had been together for a long time, who were friends of Nick's, decided they wanted to get married. So we said, okay, we're going to Vegas. So we drove to Vegas, and we had Elvis marry them.
Mhm.
And so, at any rate, a lot of people came together because of our wedding, and it was a wonderful thing.
Okay.
We moved to Park City, Utah, because my husband was a ski tech, and we wanted to live in a ski town. But my father was pressuring me to come and work in his business back in Ohio.
Mhm.
So I took him up on his offer and went there, and it was a horrible experience. He didn't support me in the changes I wanted to make in the company and was sabotaging my efforts. And so
Mhm.
I ended up having a nervous breakdown
Mhm.
because I was working 14 to 18 hours a day and pushing uphill like Sisyphus, trying to make things happen.
Mhm.
And um, it turned out that I had bipolar, and we decided that we wanted to move back to Colorado. I didn't want to work for my dad anymore. I couldn't handle the stress. The
Mhm.
nurse said, I've never met anyone as difficult as your father. You should go back to Colorado.
Mhm.
So we did. My husband packed up. Oh, while we were in Ohio, I'm sorry, I forgot. While we were in Ohio, my husband went to the University of Pittsburgh, and those doctors said he should go on dialysis, fluid dialysis, peritoneal dialysis, it's called, where
Mhm.
fluid goes into your stomach cavity
Mhm.
and bathes the organ and leaches out the toxins.
Mhm.
And he said that he would appreciate his kidney more if he had been on dialysis for a while. So he
Mhm.
put him on dialysis. Well, he had to be in a room with no air moving, no pets, no nothing. And I had this idea that he could have a bag that he could put his hands into the side of that had shock cord around it, and then a hole in the bag where he could pull his tube in and unclip the tube that was connected to his stomach and clip it to the fluid bag tube. And he wouldn't have to be in a room with no air moving. He could do it anywhere. And so he could do it in a car. I had a friend who was a designer of nylon tape cases,
Mhm.
and so he designed it for us out of nylon and plastic that you could see through on the top. It was
Mhm.
kind of in a U shape, kind of like a building, but with a flat bottom and a U shape on the top, an arch on the top. And we tried to patent it, but it wasn't patentable.
Mhm.
and but it worked really, really well for him, and gave him freedom to go wherever he wanted to go, whenever he wanted to go,
Mhm.
and still be able to do his fluid dialysis every 4 to 6 hours, I think it was.
Mhm.
So we moved back to Colorado, and that was in 1996, 97, and in July 1st of 1998, we did the kidney transplant. I was as compatible as you would expect a sibling to be. I was what's called the sixth antigen mismatch.
Mhm.
And twins are exactly compatible, fraternal twins are exactly compatible, and then there's completely uncompatible, and we were in between, right? 50% of siblings are in that category.
Mhm.
So we were at the University of Colorado Hospital, and we'd had our surgery, and the workup was no big deal for me. They just tested my blood a few times. It did an exam,
Mhm.
no big deal.
Mhm.
And they did the surgery, and I was in a recliner,
Mhm.
and this housekeeper at the hospital saw me, happened to be there when I woke up, and she said, "Oh my God, you had the biggest smile on your face. I've never seen anything like it. You are blessed."
Mhm.
And I was just really happy. And um, I got to go see Nick, and he was doing great. And there were no hitches whatsoever. So they put us in the same room together once they were sure we were both stable. And then we stayed in the hospital for 4 days. Nick could have gone home sooner than me because my incision was bigger than his. He had an arthroscopic surgery,
Mhm.
um, where they just went in, two or three holes, and in mine they cut a slice along my whole side of my belly,
Mhm.
and so the doctor could get his hand all the way in there because
Mhm.
he felt like that was a safer way to do it.
Mhm.
And so was going to take me longer to heal than Nick, about 10 weeks.
Mhm.
Well, I it was like itching me, and I just had to move, and so I went and I walked down the stairs. I walked down 7 flights of stairs and walked back up, and when the nurse came in, she said, "Where'd you go?" And I said, "Well, I had to walk. I was itching and I had to move my body." And she said, "You're not supposed to do move like that yet, you
Mhm.
know." But I felt great. I didn't feel any pain,
Mhm.
and it wasn't painful at all. And so they let Nick stay at the hospital with me until I was ready to go home. And then 4 days later, we went home, and I was just a little bit bent over like a cocapelli, because I had this incision that was healing, and I didn't really feel like I could stand up straight quite yet.
Mhm.
And it healed in about 10 weeks, and it was no big deal, and didn't really affect my life very much. So I would highly recommend it to anyone.
Mhm.
And I know the kidney lasted for at least 20 years. I'm not in touch with Nick anymore, so
Mhm.
I don't know if he's needed. They last about 25 years, I think. And
Mhm.
so I don't know if he needed a new kidney or got one or not, or what happened to him.
Mhm.
Um, but we're not in touch anymore.
Mhm.
So, but I would do it all over again. If I had seen him on TV and they advertised that he needed a kidney, I
Mhm.
would have volunteered because I just felt a deep connection to him
Mhm.
of humanity. I don't know why.
Mhm.
I just did.
Mhm.
And so, that's my story. I don't remember if there's anything I forgot from
No
when we
problem.
talked
So tell
last
me,
time.
he had a kidney disease or something?
Yeah, he had mesangiopathic IgA nephropathy.
Okay.
Kidney was dying.
Okay. Okay.
Necro means dying.
Okay. So, I mean, your connection with him, did it have anything to do with your fondness for skiing?
No, it didn't.
Oh.
Oh, you know what? He saw picture. Yeah, I had a photograph. I had a poster from a heli skiing company in New Zealand where I had worked, and I had pictures from heli skiing that I had been on. And he told me that he met a woman that he couldn't believe he met a woman who had skied more than he had, and so that solidified the connection, but that wasn't the beginning of the
Okay,
connection.
because he was a skiing technician, you mentioned.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Great. So, I mean, again, like I said, I would, make a documentary or a movie or anything on it because this is like unbelievable. And especially back in 1998, the situation would have been different. But now, because the affection and the love and all those things are not the same the way they used to be. However, you just mentioned that it was more of a humanitarian act, and that you would do it all over again because you felt so connected with him. So, tell me a little bit about your recovery. You gave me a little bit of idea that you walked up and down, and then you did not feel anything. But tell me the protocol after like 6 months or 3 months.
Oh, nothing, nothing. They told me that when you have a kidney problem, it's usually both of your kidneys. So by giving up a kidney, I wasn't giving up any of my health. If I was going to have a kidney problem, it would have been with both of my kidneys. So it wouldn't have helped me to have two kidneys. So it didn't matter that I gave up one kidney.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the recovery goes, within the next day after we got home, we lived in a house, and we're in the living room and where the backyard is, and through our privacy fence I could see somebody trying to steal our car. So I jumped up off the couch and ran out into the yard and yelled, and they ran away. But I was able to do that even just having come out of the surgery. It really didn't affect me very. I don't remember anything about the recovery that is of notice.
Mm-hmm. So, is it because you are a resilient person or physically very fit? What could be the reason?
Yes, I was very fit at the
Right.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been running 5 miles a day in the mountains before I met Nick. And I rode mountain bikes and I rock climbed, and so I was very physically fit. And I have been a very healthy person all my life. Now I have a complex combination of conditions, including a neurological disorder that I have to deal with. But it's controlled by medication, and so everything I have is controlled. But I was very healthy at that point. I had never had surgery in my life. I had never had the only major illness I had was mononucleosis in high school, and
Mm-hmm.
that lasted about 3 months.
Mhm. So I think it has to do with the amazing mountain regimen because the entire world is now moving towards intermittent hypoxia of or elevation workouts, which make you very strong.
They were doing that at that time already in Boulder. It's a big mecca for cyclists,
Okay.
racing cyclists.
Hmm.
Oh, I'll tell you a funny part of the story. I
Hmm.
had that party, part of the reason because there was this guy that I was really attracted to, and I wanted to have him come to the party and
Hmm.
have a good time and spend time with me. And
Hmm.
so I invited him, and he kind of knew that I was attracted to him.
Hmm.
And after I connected with Nick, he said, "Yeah, you never gave me a chance. You just picked Nick, and that was the end of it." And so he was bummed, and he was an old boyfriend of Nick's sister-in-law, who I was in law school with.
Hmm.
So it was just this connections all over the place.
Right. That's great. And I know it might, again, it totally depends on you if you want to answer or not. I mean, such an amazing thing you did for Nick. And but you mentioned that you're no more in contact.
No, I had bipolar and it wasn't controlled as it is now. I'm on the perfect medication for me. I have no symptoms, and I have no side effects. But during the period when I was not medicated properly, which was from 1997 when it first came up, when I had my first manic episode, until 2014 when I finally met a doctor and was recommended a medication to try by another doctor who I didn't start to see. I would do irregular things, and um, I would bother people and I would yell at them and just say crazy things and do crazy things. And he just got tired of it. And so he just disconnected from me. And it's okay. I understand. And
Mhm.
he has a new life. He got married again
Mhm.
to another woman. And uh, we just bickered too much when we were married.
Mhm.
You know, if we wanted to carry a table outside of the house, a banquet table, a 6 foot banquet table, I would turn it one way to go through the door. He would try to turn it the other way. And of course, his way was right.
Mhm.
Just little bickering things like that. But I just realized I didn't, I had an episode while he was on a ski trip one time in 1999,
Mhm.
and he was gone, and I had a client that was attracted to me, and we ended up connecting with each other. And I called Nick up and said I want a divorce, because in that moment I just knew that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life with him,
Mhm.
even if it wasn't with this other guy that I had just hooked up with. I
Mhm.
just knew that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life with Nick.
Mhm.
Another thing about my kidney story is that I went to a Phil Lesh concert. He was the former bass player of the Grateful Dead. He just died this year.
Mhm.
Um, and I really liked his music, and he would play with a band he called Phil Lesh and Friends, which is a rotating group of musicians who would come and play with him, guest musicians and things like that.
Mhm.
And I was at a concert at Red Rocks, and my friend Josh said, Lisa, Phil is a liver transplant recipient, and he'll want to know that there's a kidney donor in the audience. And I said, "Oh, Josh, you're crazy. That's not true." He said, "Yes, go tell your story." And so I said, "Okay." And so I went over to the backstage door, and somebody was walking by. I said, "Hey, you want to hear a story?" And he's like, "Oh, I've heard so many stories. I don't want to hear another story." So I said, "Josh, forget it. I'm not doing it." Well, we went over by the other backstage door, and we were just sitting on a big concrete planter above the doorway coming from backstage. And this guy came. I was just talking to Josh, had no plans of trying to connect and let Phil know that there was a kidney donor in the audience. I thought that was crazy. But this guy walked out the door, and he had this big smile on his face, and he looked really friendly. I said, "Hey, you want to hear something funny?" And he said, "Sure." I said, "Yes, and my friend Josh here thinks that Phil would want to know there's a kidney donor in the audience because I donated a kidney to my husband." And he said, "Oh." He said, "That's so cool." He said, "You know what? I do the lights. Just come through the VIP section at the halftime at the break and see me."
Mhm.
And so I did, and he took me backstage at Red Rocks, which was really cool. There were all these portraits of Bob Dylan and
Yes.
um, BB King and all these people who had performed there. And we went up on the stage on the side, and I
Mhm.
didn't get to meet Phil or anything like that, but it was an incredible experience, and he liked me, so he invited me to come to California
Mhm.
to see Phil at the Greek Theater at University of California, Berkeley. And of course I was going to go. There was no doubt in my mind. So
Mhm.
I went, and I got there, and at the break we were downstairs, and Billy Nursery from String Cheese Incident was there, and I knew him from when I was a ski bum in Telluride. And he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, I met the lighting guy because I'm a kidney donor, and my friend Josh said that Phil would want to know there's a kidney donor." And I said, "Oh my God, that's incredible."
Mhm.
So anyhow, I went to bed that night, and I woke up the next morning, and I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh my God, Phil needs a section of his website dedicated to organ donation," because
Wow.
at every concert he would give what they called a donor rap.
Okay.
and he would talk about how he wouldn't be there if it weren't for a young man who had told his parents that he would want to be kidney donor if something ever happened to him.
Hmm.
And so he was really grateful and he would encourage the audience to become organ donors.
Hmm.
So I told that to the lighting guy, Dan, and he said, "Oh, let me introduce you to Phil's wife, Jill.
Hmm.
She'll want to hear about this." And so he introduced me and she said, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Here's Tom. He's on the board of directors of our foundation. He'll get you everything you need to do
Hmm.
the section of the website."
Hmm.
So I did, and I researched it in depth and wrote it and had all these references on there and links, helpful links and things like that, and what it was like to be a living kidney donor and all the facts you needed to know about organ donation. And a graphic designer put it all together for presentation, and he had it up for about 8 years. And Tom, the board member's wife, was a nurse, and she said, "Lisa, I couldn't have done a better job of putting that website together. It's so well researched and written."
Hmm.
And so it was on there for, I think, about 8 years.
Hmm.
And then he changed his website and took it off.
Okay.
And all you have to do to become an organ donor is let your family know.
Great.
You don't have to do anything special.
Okay, that's great. Also, tell me the story about San Francisco, where you got late and you were,
Oh, okay. Well, I my plane was late, and I wanted to have a my California dream trip come true, so I rented a convertible Mustang, put the top down, and was going 80 miles an hour down the highway to get to the concert on time.
and
I got
whose concert was that?
Phil Lesh and
Okay,
Friends.
okay, okay,
That was the concert I was invited to by the lighting guy Dan,
okay.
and um I saw this guy walking down the road, and I said, "Do you know where the Greek theater is?" He said, "Yeah, it's over here." I said, "Are you going there?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, jump in. I'll
Hmm.
give you a ride." So we drove, and then I saw this entrance to a parking garage, and I
Hmm.
said, "I'm going to pull in here." And it said faculty only. And he said, "That says faculty only." I said, "I don't care. I'm
Hmm.
going to park there. I'm a kidney donor."
Yeah.
And I was really fit because I've been running 5 miles a day in the mountains. And
Hmm.
so I sprinted across the campus and I got there, picked up my backstage pass at the will call window, went through the turnstile just as they hit the first chord of this song, St. Stephen, which is one of my favorite songs.
Hmm.
And I went right up to the lighting section and met Dan. And that was the concert where I met Jill. And it was really exciting. And I went to more concerts of his with Dan and became really good friends with the sound guy, John, and his wife. Uh, and the graphic designer, and it was just an incredible experience. And I got to know Phil and Jill a little bit. Had dinner with them one time, and Jill even invited me to go on tour with them. I saw them in Pittsburgh with Dan, and I decided that I needed to go back and work in my business, which was so stupid. It would have been the trip of a lifetime to go on tour with a member of the Grateful Dead. I don't know what I was thinking, but I
Okay.
wasn't a groupie. That's
Okay.
not how I met them. I met them because I'm a kidney donor,
Right.
and that was what made all the difference, why they welcomed me into their circle.
Right.
Dan said that in 25 years of working for the Grateful Dead, he had never seen someone embraced into the inner circle so quickly.
Hmm.
Um, I just had an aura about me or something that was pleasing, that attracted people to me.
Hmm. So you are a hardcore Deadhead, I would say.
Yes, I've seen over 100 Dead shows, and then I've seen probably
Wow.
about 40 Phil Lesh and Friends shows.
Okay, that's
I
very.
would always go to see the Grateful Dead if they were within 100 miles of me. And one time I went on tour. They played at Red Rocks, and then I decided spontaneously to go to Tempe, Arizona at Arizona State University, and I saw them there. And then I went on to Vegas and then to Irvine, California.
Oh.
And it was really, really fun, but I that was the only time I ever followed them. I wasn't I wasn't a tour head.
I really want to see a concert at Red Rock because I saw one on the recorded ones of Dave Matthews and recently Joe Bonamassa. Amazing shows. So one day I also do music. I'm not sure if you know about it. So I'm gonna send you my link and I'll see what your response or feedback to it is. So I would thank you once again for going through this, one more time with me, running this one more time with me. And your story is amazing and really inspiring, your selflessness and just overall kindness. And I would request you or invite you to join our app, Life Immortal app, the first organ donation app ever. And just that the objective is to create awareness through this podcast, not only about organ donation as a cause, but also about the app and also about people who are looking for, recipients and, using social media or, wearing t-shirts at Disney and doing other newspaper ads that used to be in the past, various ways to find their organs. And yeah, thank you so much. If you like to say anything, as a closing, feel free.
I think what you're doing is amazing and awesome. I think an app is a perfect idea to match donors and recipients up. And I think that the more donors, living donors that you can get in touch with and get their stories, the more powerful your podcast will be, and the more people will be inspired to join your app and to consider organ donation. It's very easy to be evaluated. The difficult kind and painful kind of organ donation is bone marrow transplant. That's very painful.
Mhm.
But other than that, it's very straightforward. At least with kidneys, it is. And liver transplant recipients can have a really hard time. Those are difficult transplants to accomplish successfully.
Mm-hmm. So my friend
Uh,
and council member Jeff Stunkard, he's a bone marrow transplant donor, bone marrow donor, and I told you that I'm going to connect you with him on LinkedIn, and maybe we can have, if you have time in future, we can have a joint podcast. It will be a lot of fun. Like I mentioned to you before that he's doing this research in with NIH in mental health, and you mentioned that you would like to
Yes, I have a trust, and when I die, um, and when the other beneficiary of the trust dies, anything that's left over will go to mental health research. And so, if he's doing research,
he's
that's
making apps
recognized
and
by
yeah, again
the
in the same domain.
NIH.
Yeah, in the same domain, like making apps and new products or gadgets, ways to monitor the youth's or mental health, because right now this attention deficit is becoming like smoking. Back in the day, people don't know about the long term effects, but again, I'm sorry, I know you're a smoker, but they're just trying.
Oh, it's terrible that I smoke. It really is.
So I'll get you guys connected, and thank you so much once again. And it was nice talking to you again. And maybe in the future, I have this small Facebook group of all the organ donors and recipients, and we do a check-in, occasionally and once in a while. So maybe I'll probably, maybe if you want, I can add you to the Facebook group, and we can have
Sure, sure.
Wine podcast in the future. Sure. All right. Thank you so much, Lisa. And it was nice again talking to you.
It was great, and I'm happy to meet your friend.
Sure.
Who's doing the research and who is the bone marrow donor. That is a big deal. That's a much bigger deal than a kidney donation.
Sure. All right. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.